Okay guys, we're going to go over page 62, the guided practice. We had to do numbers 1 through 4. The answers are not quite what you think. Alright, so let me just read them. The rates are not equivalent, that's for number 1. For number 2, the rates are equivalent. And number 3, the rates are not equivalent. And number 4, the rates are not equivalent. Now, when I said the answer is not quite what you think it is, I just meant that you have to write a sentence and there's a lot of work involved. And it'd be too much to write here. So overall, this is the answer. This is the answer. But you also have to know why it is what it is, you know? Okay, so let's just get started then. As I was saying, the whole goal of this lesson is to find out if ratios or rates are equivalent. Do they share the same relationship? Do they express the same value? Okay? The numbers may be bigger, but they might be expressing the same value, the same idea. Okay? And the best way to explain this is just to go ahead and do examples. So number 1, as always, read the directions. Determine if each pair of ratios or rates is equivalent. Explain your reasoning. Alright, so we have two ratios. We have $24 saved after 3 weeks. And we also have, hopefully I have space to write it on this side, $52 saved after 7 weeks. Okay. So the question is, do they express the same idea? Alright. If you've been with me for a while, you know, always write the words first. Forget the math, forget the numbers, write the words. We're talking about a relationship. So in both of these examples, what's the relationship? What are we talking about? We're talking about money saved over weeks. So it's money to weeks. Okay? We have two ratios. 24 to 3. Right? And we have 52 to 7. Alright. Two ways to do this. You can either try and find the unit rate, or try to see if you can make equivalent fractions, if they are in fact equivalent fractions. Okay, so let me say that again. You can either find the unit rate, right? That means you have to work with both of them, or you could find out and see if these rates, or sorry, if these fractions are equivalent. Okay? Okay, I'm going to try the unit rate method. Okay, if you remember, if we want a unit rate, that means we want the denominator to be 1. Okay? The denominator has to be 1. Okay? Now, to get the denominator to be 1, you have to divide by the number itself. If we have 3 and we want groups of 1, that means you have to have 3 groups, right? You do the same thing to the numerator. Again, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top, or whatever you do to the top, do to the bottom. And that means 8. So we have a ratio of $8 per week. And I'm going to write this sentence here. $8 per week. Alright. Here, we need to, let's try the unit rate. And actually, if you think about it, this is technically a unit price, but that's a different issue. We'll worry about that later. You divide by 7 because you want to get rid of the denominator. I shouldn't say you want to get rid of it. You want to change it to 1. Do the same thing here. Okay. If you know your times tables, you know this isn't going to divide evenly. Oh boy. Okay. And it's not that hard, but I'm going to show you a little thinking. If you can think it through a little bit, you can save yourself some effort. Alright. So we're making groups of 7. 7 is our divisor. So we got to ask ourselves, how many groups of 7 can we get out of 52? Okay. Now if you know your times tables, you know 7 times 7 gives you 49. And you subtract and you get 3. Okay. This is where if you do a little thinking, you can save yourself some time, some effort. We have 3 left. We have a remainder. And you know that if we have a remainder, that means we have to add a decimal point and a 0. That decimal point means we're going to cut this up into 10 pieces, or into pieces, and I'll explain it later when we do chapter 3. But right now, just if you've done division, you add a decimal point, add a 0, bring it down. Decimal point out here. 7 point, and how many subgroups of 7 can you make out of 30? 4. All right, you do that, right? Add another 0. 7 times 2. Okay, I'll stop there. And actually, I could have stopped as soon as I saw that this was going to be 7, and I had a remainder, 7 point whatever. You can already tell that the ratios are not the same. Why are they not the same? The unit rates are not the same. This is $8 per week, right? And this person makes $7 and, well, we did the work, 42 cents per week. But the work didn't ask for you to give the exact answer, right? So I'm going to leave it like that. The book says 743, but I'll leave it like that. But you have to write it in a reason, okay? If you can back up your answer with a reason, I will accept it, okay? So the answer then is the rates are not equivalent. Remember I told you I had to write 2 sentences, really? First tell me if it's yes or no. So it's a not, that's a no answer. The rates are not equivalent. Why? The unit rates are not the same. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do the same problem using the different method, okay? The equivalent fraction method. So, looking at the ratios as fractions, because again, ratios behave like fractions. They're not fractions, but they behave like it. Looking at the ratios as fractions, are they equivalent? Well, like I told you yesterday, when I did the intro notes, you have the two ratios. You have 24:3, and then you have 52:7, I believe. Okay. And again, there's more than one way to do this. I can't think. Look, if I go from 3 to 7, I'm scaling up. Scaling up. I can multiply this by 2, but that gives me 6, right? I can multiply this by 2, it gives me 48. I can do 48 over 6. It's not the same. I can't scale up. Now, you might be thinking, well, what if we simplify it? Okay, let's see if we can simplify this. But first glance, I can't scale up to this number. I can't scale up to that number, right? I mean, I can, but I'm not going to be able to use a whole number. I want a whole number. See if I can do this correctly. Okay? So let's simplify it. Man, I don't know why I erased it. I should have left it there. I guess I felt like erasing. Let's simplify this. We already know this is going to be 8-1 from our previous example. Okay, now we can see what's going on. To go from 1 to 7, you scale up by 7. Right? To go from 8 to 52, you're going to need at least 6 point something. Whatever it is, we don't know. But right away, you're not using the same factor. Right? It has to be the same. You're not using the same factor. You're not using the same factor. The fractions are not equivalent. it doesn't have to be three separate sentences, but I'm going to write them anyways. And that tells me the rates are not equivalent. Okay, that was a lot of work for one problem, but I want you to see multiple ways of doing the same thing. Okay? On to number 2. 270 calories in 3 servings, 450 calories in 5 servings. Okay. Again, take care of the English first. Usually, the best way to identify the noun that I keep telling you to look for? Okay, this is what you do. How do you find the nouns? They keep saying, find the nouns. What is it you're comparing? All right. I'm going to go ahead and copy this in pen, and you'll see why in just a moment. 270 calories in 3 servings. And then we have 450 calories in 5 servings. Okay. So how do you find the nouns? How do you find that ratio that you're comparing? All right. This may sound crazy, but bear with me. 270, 450 calories. 3 servings. Okay. So this has a connection to this. The calories to the servings. So there's your ratio. Once you know that, the rest is just putting in the numbers. Okay? You have 270 to 3. 270 calories, 3 servings. I'm going to try the unit rate. You know what? Why not? This is the unit rate method again. By the way, if you do one that works, you don't have to do both. You pick one that you feel is best for you and go with it. Okay? All right. I need a unit rate. That means the denominator is going to have to be 1. I'm going to divide by 3. So that becomes 3 divided by 3 is 1. I'm going to divide this by 3. Okay, now, this is where you have to do a little work. Okay. I'm making groups of 3. I can't make groups of 3 out of 2, but I can make groups of 3 out of 27. How many groups of 3 can you make out of 27? You should know by now it's going to be 9. Subtract, bring that down. 90. 90 to 1. Okay. Next. 450. 5. All right. This is the servings. This is the calories. Same thing. I want a unit rate. I want the denominator to be 1. I have to divide by the number itself. Do the same thing here. And again, we're going to have to divide. Okay. I can't make groups of 5 out of 4, but I can out of 45. How many groups of 5 can I make out of 45? It's 9. That's going to be 90. Okay. All right. But what is this saying? What is this saying? Again, what is the ratio saying? And I forgot to do that with the other problem, but we're going to do it here. 90 to 1 means we have 90 calories per serving. Right? Serving. And the per, again, means 1. Okay? It isn't 1, but it means 1, if that makes a difference. 90 calories per serving. All right. So are these ratios equivalent? Are these rates equivalent? Yes. Now you notice I wrote it a little differently. I said yes first. Yes, the rates are equivalent. Here's my first sentence. Here's my second sentence. Why? The unit rates are the same. And that's it. Okay. Now, I will do this as a fraction to see if I can make it work. Okay. You ready? All right. Let's try it out. In some ways, actually, it's doing the fraction method, equivalent fraction method. Hold on. The equivalent fraction is more work. And I'll explain what I mean in just a moment. So we still have 270 over 3, and then we have 450 over 5. Okay, now, I know I said earlier, try to see if you can scale up, but with a whole number. I can't think of any whole number that'll give me 5. I can't think of anything that'll give me 450, whole number-wise. We can do fractions, we can do decimal numbers, but it's not going to work. And just like in the other lessons, what are you going to do? Well, let's simplify one of them. Let's simplify the smallest one with the smallest denominator. We have 90 to 1. Again, we did the working of the problem. I think you get it. And then is 90 to 1 equivalent to 450 over 5? Well, let's find out. From 1 to 5, we can scale up by 5, a factor of 5. To go from 90 to 450, we can also scale by a factor of 5. So in that case, it's the same factor. That means these two ratios are equivalent. So now what I said earlier, this actually is more work because in some ways, it really depends on you. In both methods, you still have to find a unit rate. In the other way, both of them have to be unit rate. For equivalent fraction, maybe one of them has to be unit rate, but there's still a unit rate involved somehow. And then you have to scale up or scale down. You know what? Whatever works for you guys. Maybe some of you don't like division at all, and so you want to minimize division if you can. This might be the best way for you. Everyone's different. You do what works best for you. But anyways, how are we going to write the answer? The rates are equivalent. The first sentence is the same. The rates are equivalent. Why? The fractions are equivalent. This is a fraction, this is a fraction. It's a ratio, but they act like fractions, so we're saying the fractions are equivalent. Okay, that's number 2. All right, I promise you number 3, I'm just going to do one way, whichever seems best for me. But if you really want to challenge yourself, do it the other way. Whatever method I choose, you do it the other way, see if you can verify what I'm saying. Okay, I could be wrong. You know I've made mistakes before. It happens. We all do this. Okay. Mika can do 75 push-ups in 3 minutes. Eduardo can do 130 push-ups in 5 minutes. Okay. I know we have 75 in 3 and 150, 130 in 5 minutes. Okay. Again, write the fraction, or not the fraction, write the ratio first. Write the words first. What is it we're comparing? Okay. I know I said don't do this, but maybe some of you need to do this. I'm going to write the numbers. 75 to 3. And I notice with the 75, it's talking about push-ups. 75 push-ups. And the 3, we have minutes goes with it. So then, if I ask on a quiz, hint, hint, what are we comparing? What nouns are we comparing? What's the relationship we're looking at? You're going to tell me, oh, it's easy. It's push-ups to minutes. I'll even write that down. The relationship is, well, no other way to say it, push-ups to minutes. So now you know that. Push-ups to minutes. And you know what a push-up is. You know, you get on the ground, you push yourself up, you go down, up, down. All right. So I'm writing it a lot, and that's okay. That's okay. Push-ups to minutes. We have 75 to 3, and we also have 130 to 5. Okay. I don't mind division. I actually kind of like it sometimes. So I'm just going to do the unit rate method. Again, I'm using the unit rate. Are the unit rates the same? See, unit rate. All right, I need the denominator to be 1. I'm going to divide by 3. Divide by 3. Okay. 75 broken up into 3 groups means each group is 25. I mean, if you don't believe me, this is what I did. Verify it for yourself. Okay? I'm going to divide by 5. The denominator to be 1. Divide this by 5. Okay, now this one I'm going to do because I can't think of this one right off the top of my head. It could be 26, but I could be wrong. I want to verify. And again, there's no shame in doing the work. Okay? There really isn't. Can I make groups of 5 out of 1? No. Can I make groups of 5 out of 13? Yes. How many? 2. Because 5 times 2 gives me 10. I subtract. 3 minus 0. 3. Oh, sorry. Yeah, what is 3? 1 minus 1 is 0. Bring down the 0. How many groups of 5 can I make out of 30? 6. Boom. Ooh, okay. Now let's think about this. Are the rates equivalent? Now what is it? We have these numbers in front of us, but what does it mean? Okay. Mika does, and I'm kind of adding a little extra work here, but bear with me here, does 25 push-ups per minute. The other guy, Eduardo, does 26 push-ups per minute. Okay. Are they doing the push-ups at the same rate? Can they do the same amount in a minute? Obviously no. He does 25, he does 26. So the answer is no. The rates are not equivalent. Why? Again, 2 sentences. Give me the answer. Give me the reason. The unit rates are not the same. Now see, in this case, we can say either, well, if they were the same, we could say they're equal because they're the same numbers, but they're not even that. So they're not the same. They're not equal. And there's the answer, there's the reason. So again, for the quiz, when you write the answer, you have to write 2 sentences. 1, answer the question, yes or no. Complete it. No, the rates are not equivalent, or yes, the rates are equivalent. The reason. If it's a no, it's because the rates are not the same. If it's a yes, it's because the rates are the same. If you notice, it's a pattern. It kind of starts the same way, right? It has some of the same keywords. But regardless, we'll talk about that later. All right, number 4. Almost done, guys. And we're only at 25 minutes. Yoo-hoo! Okay. A human adult takes about 16 breaths in 60 seconds. A puppy takes about 8 breaths in 15 seconds. Are these rates equivalent? Explain your reasoning. All right. Again, I see the numbers 16 and 60 in that order. 16 and then 60. What word follows those numbers? 16 breaths, 60 seconds. All right. All right. And then the other one we have is 8 breaths, 15 seconds. Okay. Hoo boy. Let's try the unit rate method. I know I said I was going to do that. Let's see what happens. All right. And by the way, the relationship is breaths per seconds. Okay. And actually darken that so you can see it. Breaths per seconds. You know, as I do this each year, as I teach this, I figure out new ways of doing this. I hope what I said earlier about the numbers and then right what follows after it helps you find the ratio that we're talking about. Okay? Because without this, these numbers mean nothing. You need to know what the numbers mean. Okay? So it's very important that you understand the English. And if you don't understand the English, for whatever reason, ask for help. Okay? But anyways, back to the numbers. We have 1660 and 815. Okay, I already can tell I'm not going to like this. I have to have a denominator of 1. Okay. You know what? I'll be honest with you. Making the denominator 1 is easy. You just divide by whatever the number is at the bottom. But now look at this mess. To divide 16 by 15, I'm going to have a decimal number, or a fraction. And then 8 divided by 15, oh my goodness. That's too much work. So I'm not going to force myself to do something if I see that it's not going to work. Alright? So, nope. Too much work. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to skip it. Okay? That doesn't mean I'm going to... And sometimes you're not going to have a choice. Sometimes you will have to divide by numbers and get a decimal number or a fraction that's not very convenient, not very nice. But for now, I think we have a choice. Let's find out. The other method was equivalent fractions. Are these equivalent fractions? Okay. Whew. The number, I noticed 8/15 has smaller numbers. And 1660s, you know, you can do it the other way around. You can put 1660s over here and 8/15 on this side. But then it becomes an issue of scaling down. Here, I'm scaling up. And if you don't like division, this might be where you want to stay. You might want to scale up instead. If you don't mind division, and I'll show both so you can see what I'm talking about. You pick what works best for you. You'll get the same answer. Okay? All right. Scaling up. To go from 8 to 16. If I have 8 and I want 16, how many groups of 8 do I need? 2 groups of 8. 8 times 2. To go from 15 to 60. Oh boy. I can do it in my head, but I'm trying to explain to you how I can do this in the head. You could do division, because really 15 times something gives you 60, right? And then what you end up doing is dividing 60 by 15, you get 4. Or you can do what I'm going to do right now. I know in my head, I know 15 plus 15 is 30, right? And 30 is half of that. Or let me say it a different way. Keep going with the multiplication theme here. 15 plus 15 is 30. In my head, I'm seeing this. right? Oh, I know that if I multiply by 2, I get 60. But what does that 2 mean? It means it to have 2 15s, right? Again, it's all about thinking. If you know these tricks, you can use them. So in my head, I did 15 plus 15 is 30. If I do that twice, that's 60. I added 4 15s. And again, multiplication is just repeated addition. 15 times 4. You really got to know your times tables, people. And let me erase that because it looks kind of funny. It looks like a 14, and it's not. Okay. I hope you understood what I meant here, because that's just another way of doing it. It's mental math. As we get to chapter 3, you'll see me using more and more of this. So here we go. All right. If you decided you want to do scaling down because you like division, okay, if I have 16 and I want groups of 8, I have to break up 16 into 2 groups. If I have 60 and I want groups of 15, that means I have to break 60 into 4 groups. Either way, the factors are not the same. If the factors are not the same, that means the ratios are not the same. Sorry. If the factors are not the same, that part's still good. The fractions are not the same. That means they're not equal. I shouldn't say same. Can you tell it's late? Let me start. Third time's the charm, right? Okay. The factors are not the same. That part has been true the whole time. If the factors are not the same, that means the fractions are not equivalent. I got it right. If the fractions are not equivalent, that means the ratios are not equivalent. Okay? So let me start off the answer then. No. The ratios are not equivalent. So that's my answer. But you also need a reason. Why? Why? The fractions are not equivalent. And that's it. You have 2 ways of doing this to find out if ratios are equivalent. Use unit rates, use equivalent fractions. Sometimes one method won't work. Sometimes both will work. Sometimes neither will work, but that's rare. So keep it up, and we're done. That's it for guided practice. Okay, and here you see the answer again. All right, that's it.